I've taken the tub back off, got that out of the way, and I've got the engine and trans back in place. Put that in last night. I'm going to start doing the rest of we'll continue on with the chassis work. I'm now going to move on to the sensor section, the bracing. So I'm going to go a bit old school on this one. I've been thinking about it for a while, what I'm actually going to do in regards to bracing up the sensor of the chassis. I've been looking on Instagram and all the chassis builders pages, all that sort of thing for months, and there's things I'd like to do and ways. I think there's ways I'd love to do it. For me, it's just having access to the gear. I'd like a nice tube sensor section. I've got a friend with a tube bender at his shop, but I have to take the chassis there to do it. It's just going to be a bit of a hassle. So I'm just going to stick with the tried and tested RHS. People have been building Pro Street cars with it for years. It works. It's strong. It's a bit basic. It's nothing extravagant, but it works, and I can do it here at home. And the idea of this whole thing is to do as much as I can by myself at home in the carport. I'll do it in the shed, but there's a car on the way. But it's going to work. I'm fine with it. It's my truck. So, yeah, I'll get started on that. I jumped on the Mix's garage website. I follow Mix on Facebook. He's in Australia. He does killer builds, but he also sells parts online. Laser cut brackets and airlift or air ride brackets, that sort of stuff. But I ordered these this crossmember kit. This is just one side of it. Comes with the tabs and everything, and that's going to be the start. I'm going to put this one on first, drop that down there somewhere, work out where that's going. It's a beautiful piece, and it was inexpensive. It was easy to get. It was here in a couple of days. So I'll start with that, other way up, of course, and then some 3mm RHS. I've just dropped it there so it's out of the way, but you get the idea. Through the middle, off to the sides, braced up, and so I've made a bit of progress on the frame. I've got the Mixers crossmember tacked fairly well, tacked in place. That's not going anywhere. I spent most of yesterday just working out this tube here. It's got a couple of funky angles on it, so it follows the it's hard to see. The chassis got that bend there, and then it's got another bend where it goes up here at the front. So I've tried to, it is quite hard to see here on the phone, but on the camera, but I've done it here as well. So I've got the angle that comes down here and goes off this way, as well as coming in here and here, so a couple of compound cuts. I'm not sure what I think of it. It's going to work. It's going to be strong enough. It's going to be, I've still got to put all the braces and everything through, and fill in panels, that sort of thing, webbing, bracing. So for now, this is just the basic outline. It's one of those things, as soon as you've cut everything and tacked it in place, you think of a way you could have done it better, or is it quite how you want it? But I'm happy with that. I think by the time I finish, it's going to look good, and it's going to be strong as hell. So the strength is the main thing. It is one of those things where I'd like to look underneath the truck and be happy with what I've done. But it's going to come up nice. So I've done one side, I've cut 2 of the 3 pieces for the other side now, just replicating the other side. That's quick and easy. So I've got one more piece to cut, and then I can tack that in and tack them to the chassis and take all the support pieces off and have a look. spent today finishing up the two center sections, the backbone, the spine, if you will, of the chassis. They don't look quite as janky now with the still RHS, but I've cleaned them up. Took all the paint off them, cleaned up the welds, gave them a bit of a sand even. So they're welded most of the way around. I'll finish those and I'll flip the chassis upside down. I've started making a crossmember, a welded in crossmember that goes between the two, but as is the way, I've run out of gas for my welder, so I've got to go down and get some more tomorrow. But so I'll do that tomorrow and finish up the top of that open top crossmember there. But for now, because I can't do any more welding and it's going to get a bit late to make noise anyway, I'm going to start stripping the chassis down, like taking all the diff out and everything. Get ready to take this thing off the table and flip it over and weld the other side. So I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself with doing the frame on the tub when I've still got all the chassis, or what's left of the chassis work to do. I'll kind of explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I've got the air tank down off the shelf. That came with the all the airlift stuff from Air Ride Suspension Supplies over in Melbourne. My new from Marketplace fuel cell. And I'm just sort of working things out. So I need to know where the air tank sits so I can work out where the fuel tank sits so I can then make the cross members for the chassis. So everything I'm doing here is pretty much solely to work out where I'm putting these cross members on the back of the chassis. So I picked up some more RHS and I can continue the frame on the truck. I originally intended on the opening, the tub floor opening to be the inside of these two rails here, tilting up like this, simply for the convenience of mounting it to the chassis. But my air tank is a little bit wider than I remembered, so I'm changing that so I can put the air tank in the right place, and then I can put the fuel cell exactly where I need it, work out at least one of the main cross members at the back. Then I can take all this off and do the rest of the work on the chassis with the tub off. So while it seems like I'm jumping well ahead of myself, there is a sort of a bit of a reason behind a bit of a method to the madness, I guess you could say. So I did more work on the frame and the tub. I've widened that, changed a few things around, added some bits. But I'm going to put that on hold for a minute because I figure the clearance is going to be pretty tight with the air tanks and the fuel tank and that sort of thing. And I really want to know exactly where the tub's sitting before I weld anything in there to the chassis. And I need the cab on the chassis to work out exactly where the tub's going to sit and the heights, and eyeing up the body line, that sort of thing. Because the last thing I want is the air tank sitting where I think it's going to be, and then the tub sitting a little bit lower and the floor messed up. So I'm going to put that on hold. I've done a bit more welding, most of the welding on top of this. I've got to fill in the top of that cross member there, and I just bought a big piece of 100 by 50 for a rear cross member. I'm going to cut that down to the width of the rails, do some substantial tacks on the back. I need to get this chassis off this table and flipped over so I can weld everything on the underside. Because I haven't got anything across the back, I'm going to put that there temporarily, just so I don't have any flex in these rails and everything stays in place. So I'll do that now, then I'll move on to capping this. I've got to do on the side as well, but while the chassis is up this way, I'll do the top of this, weld in a couple of bits here, and then we'll see about getting this thing off this table. So I've pretty much finished the center section of the chassis, or the top side of it's done. I think that'll suffice strength wise for any twisting, potential twisting. I've discovered that these guys, flexi strip, those fibery disc things, they actually remove the mill scale. I did not know that. I've always been using grinding discs and that, and it makes just a mess. And I watched a couple of videos on YouTube, and I saw a few saying Scotch-Brite ones work. No one seems to have those around here that I could find easily. But it does say remove scale on the back of these, so I thought I'd give those a go. I got those this morning from Bunnings, and yeah, they cleaned up the cross member there. Would have been a lot easier to do it beforehand, but it's done now. I've gone over a couple of different grades, sanding discs, and then the orbital just to clean it up a little bit. But I've still got to undo the underside of that cross member. But pretty much the all the major chassis work on the top side is done. It's a quick recap. Car Guys Garage front end. I've dropped the front where the bumper mounts and the radiator support mounts, because I dropped the cab mounts 25mm, so I've chopped the front to match, put in the Car Guys front, plated or boxed the frame all the way through, dropped the mounts as I mentioned. The front ones are bolted on, the back ones are welded from the factory. They were riveted, and they had a big cross member. I've cut that out, made these new ones, dropped them 25mm. Dropped those 25mm. I've had to notch the floor of the cab to the rail just goes inside the floor now, so I'm going to lift the floor up a little bit. This structure here sits 5mm below that, but I'm going to lift the whole floor of the cab now, so that's not a problem. That's just 50 by 50 by 3mm RHS. I know RHS, but it's quick and easy, and I know I can work with it. I've still got to do trans cross member. I'll do that when I set the engine's mounts are all set up. When I've got this thing sitting down, I can drop the engine back in, and I'll work that out. Mixer's garage, off the shelf cross member. I've just boxed in this area here, all new back off the factory chassis ends somewhere around here. Did all the proper diagonal, internally fish plated cuts, all that sort of thing. Right, suspension supplies in Melbourne, they're universal top brackets with a bridge through the middle. And Adelaide Motorsport Fabrications, Andy plasma cut these rails for me, and I've done it all on this table. But now that I've done all the major welding, the sensors, brace and everything, it doesn't really need to be on that trolley anymore. So might as well take it off. So now that the chassis is upside down, you can see everything everything I missed or couldn't access when the frame was welded to the table or the trolley. When I cut the back end off and put all this on. It's just the stuff I couldn't clean up easily, I couldn't get to. And a few welds I've got to go through. Now I can finish the underside of all the centre section. I finished boxing this cross member, plating these sections up. Do a few little tricky bits in there and clean up all the welds. But yeah, I can access everything and finish it now. So I've welded in the plate I've finished boxing in the bottom of the cross member. Finished plating up these little box sections here. Added a couple of captive nuts on each side, just so they're there when I'm hanging the exhaust if I need them. But I don't have to use them, but they're there. So that's all the major welding done underneath. So now that's done, just to give it a quick layer of protection, cover it up, keep it out of the weather. I'm going to go with the squirts. I'm going to give it a coat of satin black, cover it up, and the plan is to sandblast this when, well, some kind of grip blast this when I'm finished, when it's ready to be painted properly. But I've got to mock up all the suspension and that sort of thing, and make sure everything's in its right place, and add brackets for the fuel cell, air tank, all that stuff. So I'm just putting this on, just a temporary thing, just to cover it up. And I just want to see it all in one colour too. So I'll do that now. Satin black on it just to protect it, and so it's all one colour, and it's a bit more motivating having it all one colour. It's makes me keen to get stuff done on it. I'm keen anyway, but seeing it like this makes me want to get stuck in. Cross member at the rear, again, that's temporary. I've got a plan for the back one, but I've got to have that drawn up on plasma cut, and a few other bits and pieces, but that's pretty much that part of it done. So the next step is to start bolting stuff on, mocking up the suspension, steering, that sort of thing, dropping the engine in. Then I can start planning like the fuel tank, air tank, compressor mounts, shock mounts, all the stuff that has to go on there. And there's a lot. But this way I can work out if I need to make any changes before I paint the chassis properly, and it's going to get, like I said, it's going to get blasted and painted properly. Yeah, so I'm going to waiting to hear back about the cab, and I'll get that as soon as I can. The table that this has been sitting on for the last year is on the trailer over here. That's getting dropped back to Mark from Iron Empire tomorrow. Thank you very much, Mark, for the huge help and the loan of that. He's got a couple of cool things there that are going to end up on that thing. You'll see on his channel. He's mentioned them before, but you'd have to look back through them. So I'll cut this one here. I'm going to start bolting things on, and that's going to be the next video. And I might do some airbag stuff. We'll see. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. Please subscribe if you haven't. Don't have to, but that's what you say. Yeah, thanks for hanging around. Thanks for watching. And I will see you guys again soon, hopefully. Cheers.